Hi boys and girls, before I read my book with you today, what I'd like you to do is share with me an example of what kindness looks like to you. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yes! Now let's see if your example of kindness is in the book, The Invisible Boy. Have you ever read this story before? It's one of my favorites. The Invisible Boy is about a boy named Brian. And he looks invisible. That's sad. I wonder why he looks invisible. Why do you think this story is called The Invisible Boy? That's a great idea. Now let's see what Trudy Ludwig has to say about The Invisible Boy. Can you see Brian, the invisible boy? Even Mrs. Carlotti has trouble noticing him in her classroom. She's too busy dealing with Nathan and Sophie. Nathan has problems with what Mrs. Carlotti calls volume control. He uses his outside voice inside too much. Sophie whines and complains when she doesn't get her way. Nathan and Sophie take up a lot of space. Brian doesn't. When the bell rings for recess, Micah and JT take turns choosing kids for their kickball teams. The best players get picked first. Then, the best friends of the best players. Then, the friends of the best friends. Only Brian is left, still waiting and hoping. What do you notice about the other children and Brian? The other children have lots of color. Brian doesn't. Do you think Brian really is invisible? I don't think he is invisible either. I wonder why he's invisible. Why do you think? That's a good reason. That's a good idea. Let's see what else happens. JT glances in Brian's direction and just as quickly looks away. We've got enough players on each team, he tells the others. Let's play ball. Brian's feeling left out. Is that kind? I don't think so either. In the cafeteria, Madison and her friends talk about her birthday party. The rope swing over the pool was awesome, says JT. Yeah, so was the water slide, adds Fiona. That was the best pool party ever. I'm so glad you guys had fun, says Madison. Everybody did except Brian. He wasn't invited. My heart's starting to hurt. At choosing time, while the other kids play board games and read, Brian sits at his table doing what he loves to do best. He draws fire-breathing dragons scaling tall buildings. Thank you for toasting my marshmallow. Space aliens locked in intergalactic battles. I got you now. Greedy pirates digging for treasure. Crackers? Yeah. And superheroes with the power to make friends wherever they go. Hi, friend, have a cookie. Hi. Superheroes with powers to make friends wherever they go. I wonder why he'd draw that. On Monday morning, Mrs. Carlotti introduces Justin, a new student to the class. Brian smiles shyly at him. Some of the other kids sneak looks at Justin, trying to figure out if he's cool enough to be their friend. They haven't quite made up their minds yet. I don't think that's very nice, to look at someone and decide if they're cool enough to be their friend. At lunchtime, Madison and GT watch Justin eat with chopsticks. "What's that?" asks Madison as she points at Justin's food. "It's bulgogi." What? Bulgogi. It's Korean barbecued beef. My grandmother made it for me. It's really good. Do you want to try some? There's no way I'm eating booger googie. And the kids laugh. All of them, that is. Except Brian. He sits there wondering which is worse, being laughed at or feeling invisible. Which one do you think is worse? I think they're both terrible. The next day, when Justin goes to his cubby to put away his backpack, he notices a piece of paper with his name on it. "Justin, I thought that bulgogi looked good." Brian, "Yum." At morning recess, Brian finds a piece of chalk on the ground and starts drawing away. "You're Brian, right?" "Yeah. Thanks for the note." "Hey, Justin." Emilio calls out from the tether court. "You're up next." "Sorry, I gotta go," says Justin. "By the way, that's a really cool drawing," he adds before taking off. It's really nice of Justin to compliment Brian. Do you think Brian's ever gotten a compliment on his drawings before? I don't either. Back in class, Mrs. Carlotti asks the kids to team up in 2s or 3s for a special project. The kids scurry around the room to pair off. Brian heads towards Justin. "I'm already with Justin," says Emilio. "Find someone else." Brian looks at the floor, wishing he could draw a hole right there to swallow him up. Mrs. Carlotti said we can have up to 3 people in our group. We're only 2. Come on, Emilio, let them work with us. Okay, I guess. Sounds like Justin is really good at including other people. Brian definitely didn't feel good when Emilio told him he was already partners with Justin. He wanted to fall right through that hole. Justin was very kind, and he stood up for him and what Mrs. Carlotti had to say. Mrs. Carlotti gives the class directions for the project. Your assignment is to work together to write a story about what you see in that photograph. Use your imagination and have fun. Whoa, cool, says Emilio. What kind of people do you think would live in houses like that? I don't know, but I bet Brian could draw them to go with our story, says Justin. Brian smiles as he takes out his lucky pen. The crooked story we made up on the spot. It's lunchtime again. Brian's least favorite part of the day. What does that mean, his least favorite part? Yeah, it's not at all his favorite. It's the last place he wants to go. Another 20 long minutes of kids talking and laughing with everyone else but him. Brian! He hears someone shout out, "Hey, Brian, over here!" Brian turns and sees Justin waving him over. Emilio nods at Brian as he makes room for him at the table. Cookie? Thanks. Maybe, just maybe, Brian's not so invisible after all. Now, was Brian really an invisible boy in the story? No. Why did he feel invisible? How did the kids in the story make him feel? They didn't include him, and he felt as if he didn't exist. Have you ever tried to join a game or a group of people and other kids wouldn't let you play? Yeah. How did that make you feel? I remember that happened to me a lot, and it doesn't feel good at all. How many kids did it take in the story to help Brian feel less invisible? It started with one person. Are you one person? Could you start by making someone, one person, feel less invisible than they might already feel? All right, are you ready for my challenge? I challenge you to find one person who might feel invisible, like Brian did, and I want you to try to make them feel less invisible. Try to include them in something. Compliment them. Write them a letter. Tell them the things that you like. Find the things that are good and that you like about somebody instead of looking at the differences. If we always look at the differences, because we're all different, we might not all have friends. Remember, it doesn't feel good to feel like Brian. So be kind. Kindness goes a very long way.